When we started the tiffin service in 2015, we didn't quite know what we were going to do. What we did know is that it wasn't going to be another sheltered workshop. We did know that we weren't going to keep, do the same old thing that other people are doing, which is make candles or aggarbattis or diyas and envelopes and sell them twice a year in exhibitions. We wanted something meaningful throughout the year that our individuals would enjoy and feel excited about. So we chanced upon food and we chanced upon a tiffin service. And the initial stage, honestly, we didn't know what we were doing, but we were training on the job. Now we also had a support staff and continue to have the same people. They joined us in 2015 and they continue to work with us, who weren't special educators. They didn't have any background knowledge of what a person with autism is like and what to expect. They didn't have any knowledge of what a person with Down syndrome or intellectual disability is like. However, they were kind, compassionate, and patient, and that's exactly what we needed. The thing is that what we need to understand as a community, as a society, is that every single person wants to belong. Every single person wants to feel that they are part of something larger than themselves. In a lot of cases, the initial group that we had who came our way were in many ways isolated from the community around them. And the biggest motivation for our team members was that they were part of this larger thing, which was our tiffin service in the beginning. But there were also opportunities to be part of the larger community. And it was this motivation that drove them to do their best. And they continue to do their best. So it is this notion of I'm doing something worthwhile, I'm also earning my own money, and I feel good about what I'm doing. That is keeping the motivation levels high. We provide meaningful work in a supportive environment. We play and we use the people's strengths, the individual strengths, we call them our team members, to help support them in working meaningfully and then feeling good about what they're doing. Unfortunately, that is true. Just like any other disability, the preponderance of males to females is higher, and actually the causes of autism are not yet known. And so the genetic or why there are more boys who have been identified than girls is also not known. The other thing that people need to know is that autism in girls may look very different from the way it looks in boys. So there's a lot of research going on as to what that is. I mean, what is the profile, if you will, of girls versus boys, but that's still in the beginning stages, but it is different. Well, the biggest advice I would have is don't offer sympathy, offer empathy. Try and get into their shoes and figure out what's going on. Autism does have a it is a neurobiological disorder. We don't know what's going on in the brain, but it's fascinating the way our team members think, if we can get them to articulate how they think. So communication is an issue. We have to have patience when we are communicating, and we have to try and figure out what it is that person is trying to say. And maybe in some ways, sometimes when we say it for them, sometimes that might help in extending that communication link. Very important in this entire process of being able to manage the autism, whether it's a boy, whether it's a girl, the mother is the primary caregiver in our society. So the mother is the one who's going to provide for much of what the child needs growing up. So being aware of what the differences are and how to help your child is really important. As I said, again, seeking expert help, seeking people like myself who are professionals in the field as to what needs to be done. At the same time, thinking long term. I mean, the mother's going to be the primary decision maker. So thinking long term, by the time the child is 10 or 12, regardless of whether the child is a boy or a girl, we have to start thinking about what the future looks like. What is my child's interest? So being aware of finding out what strengths and weaknesses your child has, the planning process for all of this has to start by about 10 or 12 years old. Our children with autism can be extremely successful. It's finding those opportunities and creating that pathway that's really important to do, and has to be something that is something we think about and explore together. One of the things that we have to be very aware of is that behavior is a way of communicating. When children don't have enough language and when they can't communicate what they actually want to communicate either verbally or non-verbally, sometimes the behaviors get out of control. So every behavior is a way of saying something. And as a caregiver, as a parent, the mother has to be cognizant that even if a child, as we call it, misbehaves, the child is saying something in that behavior. So being aware of that and just trying to understand that. Some basic level of training would always help. And I'm not saying you have to take sort of hours and hours of classes or anything, but just some basic level of understanding what behaviors tell us and how to then minimize the behavior and try and give our children communication skills.